The noodles steam between us, Mia's chopsticks hovering as she waits for my verdict on the broth. She's cataloging the room the way she does with new Lego sets, counting lanterns, ranking booths, naming which table would win in a race if furniture could sprint. My phone vibrates against the wood. One line, like a cut with no blood yet. Leave now. Don't tell your daughter. The chair squeaks when I shift. The man at the bar isn't drinking. His hands are in his jacket, elbows tucked, posture like a folded map. The front door is a mouth with a bell that tattles. The kitchen is a hallway with steam for walls, and a back door that opens to the alley where deliveries sweat in cardboard boxes. I look at Mia and think about how lies are scaffolds. We tell ourselves they're temporary. Hey, I say lightly, as if remembering a birthday. I forgot something for your project. Quick errand. 2 minutes. She narrows her eyes just enough to let me know she's clocked the wobble in my voice. She slurps, sets the bowl down with care a surgeon would envy, and nods. I drop cash. Too much. Because clean exits like clean cuts heal faster. The man at the bar checks the mirror behind the bottles, not the door. I put my palm to Mia's shoulder, gentle pressure, the choreography of ordinary urgency. We pass through the kitchen and nobody stops us. Heat kisses our faces. A line cook flips a pan like punctuation. Outside, the alley smells like rain that hasn't started yet. Sirens flare 2 blocks over, not screaming but clearing their throat. I keep us to the brick, to the shadow where a person becomes suggestion. The back door thumps shut behind us, the bell in the dining room muffled to a memory. In the car, I try to thread the key without fumbling. My phone vibrates again. If you tell her, they'll watch her face. It lands like a hand on the back of my neck. I breathe in, breathe out, count walls, engine, doors, glass, then us. Mia buckles herself, a ritual so practiced it could be prayer. Which project? She asks, because she is 12 and precise, and because she knows I don't forget significant things. The motor controller, I answer, offering her a truth with the bones picked clean. I left a part at the shop. She looks out the window at the ramen place. The neon sign blinks a syllable short, like it lost a word mid-sentence. We pull away, and the sirens turn the corner like whether deciding on a neighborhood. I check the mirror, then check Mia, then the man I can't see anymore. My hands are steady enough to pass for calm. I drive side streets with trees that lean in like nosy ants. Mia hums the theme from a show we watched last night, a thread I want to follow back to before. I keep my eyes on the road and pretend not to feel the text vibrating inside my chest, a second heartbeat that won't sink. 12 minutes is the window they drilled into us at the plant, back when the union still printed pocket cards and men with coffee breath walked us through evacuation routes, as if the building had a temper. 12 minutes before confusion turns into coordination. 12 minutes to get small and sideways, while everyone else is still asking who pulled the alarm. I start the count without looking at a clock. 12. 11. I take Birch instead of State, then cut to Lark where the houses are narrow, and the trees lean over like listeners. Mia notices the pivot the way a compass finds north. She turns down the radio herself, which is how she asks questions without making them into traps. What's the part look like? She says, casual as lint, eyes a mirror for my shoulders. Silver, I tell her. Small enough to lose if you breathe too hard. It's not nothing, but it's not the truth either. 10. The unknown number sits on my screen like a stranger at a bus stop, willing to talk only in notes, slid under doors. I try to call it anyway. Straight to nowhere. I text back one word, who, and it answers with absence. 9. We pause at a four-way, and nobody moves, because the rules here are more polite than practical. I take the first apology and go. The rear view holds the restaurant's block like a snow globe I've already shaken. At the next corner I see them, a pair of SUVs not pretending to belong, glass too dark, paint a kind of municipal black you only pick if you want to leave no impression. They idle past the ramen place and keep going, coasting like sharks do when they think dinner won't sprint. 8. Mia watches my face the way she reads schematics, tracing lines to see where they join. Is Mom meeting us? She asks, which is her way of measuring the radius of whatever this is. Not yet, I say. Just the part. 7. The number buzzes again. Keep moving. No home. No school. No routine. It knows us well enough to be a threat and a favor at the same time. I swallow the urge to throw the phone out the window and drive over it until the advice is ground to powder. 6. The street's thin. Industrial lots with fences like smiles that forgot how. We clip past a church basement that smells, even from the road, like coffee and old paper. 5. Dad? Mia says softly. I've got you, I say, because that's the sentence she needs and the one I can give without lying. 4. We catch a red light that thinks it's important. I tap the wheel in a pattern only my hands remember from drills. Count, breathe, decide. 3. The unknown number stays silent. The SUVs are gone from the mirror, which doesn't mean they're gone. 2. I take the next left without signaling and feel the city change temperature. 1. Now the clock in my head stops being a countdown and becomes a metronome. Keep pace, keep quiet, keep us moving toward a space where no one knows our names. The storage place sits behind a tire shop where the air tastes like rubber and regret. My father picked it because it was close to the VFW and far from anyone who might ask him to explain himself. The gate code is still a march of numbers that sound like a date if you love the same teams he did. Mia reads the keypad like it's a puzzle box, and I let her press the last digit. Small ownerships matter. Inside, the corridor hums with fluorescent fatigue. Unit 314's lock hangs where I left it after the funeral. A brass tooth and a steel smile. The door rolls up with the rattle of an old cough. Dusk greets us like a relative who forgets names but remembers faces. It smells like cardboard and motor oil and the sweet, stale echo of my father's habits. The boxes are labeled in his handwriting, a blocky print that never learned to hurry. Fishing. Tax. Winter. There's a milk crate that says tools but holds a coffee can of screws, a horseshoe, and a St. Christopher medal on a chain thick as bad decisions. I go to the blue duffel he called the go-bag back when storms had personalities. Under a tarp, the handheld radio that once lived on his nightstand, spare batteries banded in rubber, and a phone in a zippered pouch, plastic still stuck to the screen like a promise. The burner wakes with a cheap ringtone I don't recognize, a sound designed to be no one's favorite. A single message waits like a seed under frost. It opens to a photo of me in the server room at work, head bent, arm reaching for the badge reader. The timestamp is this afternoon, right before ramen, the numbers marching like orders. Whoever took it stood where visitors don't. My throat does that tightening thing that wants to be a shout but has to pass for breathing. The angle is off, low and slanted, like a camera tucked into a toolbox or a pocket. Mia leans in. Her hair smells like the shampoo she picked for the word. Citrus, which is how she approaches the world. Labels first, then proof. Dad, she says, and it isn't a question. It's a request for the thing I have been withholding piece by piece, like peeling tape from a bandage to make it hurt less and making it hurt longer instead. What is happening? I think of my father teaching me how to lie professionally, which in our house meant how to keep your voice steady when the truth would cost you the job that keeps the lights on. I think of the text about faces. Soon, I say, and I hate the word even as I let it out. I'll tell you soon. She steps back, crossing her arms not in anger, but to keep herself from reaching for me. Soon like tonight, she says, flat as a ruler. Or soon like your birthday calls to Grandpa. I put the radio in the duffel, the burner in my pocket, the guilt on my shoulders. Tonight, I say, making a promise I don't know how to keep yet. After we're safe. She studies my face the way she studies schematics, looking for the break in the line. Outside, a motorcycle tears past and leaves a trail of noise we can't use. I pull the door down until it catches, the lock clicking like a period at the end of a sentence we haven't read aloud. In the car, with the engine ticking its small hot clock, I thumb the burner awake. One new voicemail, no caller ID, linked deceptive in its brevity. I put it on speaker because my hands don't trust my ears alone. The message opens on breath, Elena's, ragged in a way I've only heard once, when the elevator at City Hall stopped between floors and she laughed too hard at her own joke to hide the claustrophobia. Dan, she says, and my name sounds like she's pulling it through a fence. There, listen to me. Don't go home. Don't. The word catches. A scrape, like plastic against tile. the faint electronic chirp of a badge reader too close to a microphone. Clients! And then the line goes to an empty hallway, the kind that eats footsteps. The system offers to replay, to save, to delete. As if choices help. Elena Park. Auditor in dark jackets with sleeves shoved up when she got serious. Neat hair, messy desk. She handled numbers like they were witnesses, patient, stern, unwilling to settle for easy answers. She sent me emails with subject lines that breathed like questions. She bought plain coffee and poured it into a good mug she kept in a drawer so the taste would remember her. The text at dinner borrowed her bluntness. Leave now. Don't tell your daughter. I hadn't let myself put her voice to it. Now it's all I can hear. Mia sits silent in the passenger seat, turned toward the window, the posture of someone offering privacy without leaving. Outside, the storage lot fence throws a chain-link shadow across the hood, a grid you could trap a story in if it would stop moving. I hit replay and make myself listen again, in case the second pass adds courage to the syllables. It doesn't. It just makes the cut cleaner. I think of the last time Elena stood in my server room, hands in her pockets, like she was resisting the urge to touch anything that hummed. She was auditing Klein's department, and had the look she got when math didn't stay where it was put. Your access logs, she said. The card swipes don't match the maintenance tickets. Someone's making ghosts. I pulled the history for her anyway, watched the screen fill with timestamps that felt like alibis on sale. Midnight visits. Entries with no exits. Badge IDs that belonged to men who hadn't worked for us in months. We joked, because that's the patch you slap over dread. She said, either the city hired vampires, or someone wants me to feel silly. We both knew which one paid better. Klein smiled the way polished men smile, all teeth and temper behind glass. He liked me because I fixed problems before he could notice them. He liked Elena because he thought he could outlast her. I see him now in the space between her words, the breath that didn't make it onto the recording. Dad, Mia says gently, and the word is an invitation back into the car, into the part where I act like the person who can drive us out of this. It was Elena, I say. She's the one who warned us. Saying it sets the room on fire, and then lights a candle for the dark. I save the voicemail, because records matter when people don't. I put the phone face down, as if that could stop it from being a beacon. Elena's fear sits in my lap, like weight I can't redistribute. I start the car, and the burner is a ghost in my pocket, warm, insistent, already counting the ways we can't go back. The storage corridor hums like a throat clearing. I kill the engine, and the quiet slides in with the smell of warm metal. Mia falls into step beside me, her sneakers translating concrete into Morse. The roll-up door protests again, and the unit yawns open to the same archive of almosts. My father's handwriting slumped on box flaps, the blue duffel with its stubborn zipper, the radio like a brick that learned to listen. I set the burner on a crate, screen down, as if etiquette could disguise the fact that it keeps wanting to be heard. Back in the server room, months ago, Elena stood with a printout she wouldn't surrender to the air. Look, she said, and there it was, a stack of maintenance tickets that didn't belong to any hands I knew. Midnight, 1/17/203, attacks of time that arrived with the kind of certainty only a computer can fake. Each ticket authorized entry to racks we keep sealed like reliquaries, evidence archives, chain of custody systems, machines that do not accept visitors, only appointments. Phantoms, she called them, and I joked about ghosts to keep the hallway from narrowing. She slid a finger down the page and tapped a badge number last used by a man who'd retired to Arizona to make furniture and forget passwords. He can't be here, she said. But his shadow is. The laugh we shared was a deal we were both too tired to read. In the now, light from the corridor slants across the unit floor and breaks on a line where it shouldn't. One carpet square sits crooked, lifted barely at the corner, a misalignment small as a flinch. My father laid these tiles himself with the kind of stubborn pride that doesn't allow for asymmetry. Kneeling, I press the edge. It gives like a secret trying not to. There's no weapon beneath, no note, just the knowledge that pressure happened recently, and from a direction I did not invite. Dad? Mia says, because she sees the tilt too, because she grew up in rooms where order was a way to make peace with chaos. I flatten the square, palm firm, until the adhesive remembers its job, and feel the ridiculousness of pretending that flush equals safe. Grab the bag, I say, not unkind. The radio goes in, the spare batteries, the street Christopher metal I used to roll my eyes at and now treat like a resistor, small, specific, meant to handle load. Mia watches my hands. She knows inventory by mood. We're halfway to the door when the outside light bends across the corrugated wall, silver running over ridges, a river finding its bed. A sedan glides by the mouth of the corridor, speed respectful to the point of sarcasm. Windows dark enough to make a mirror. It doesn't stop. It doesn't need to. It's taking attendance. I feel the old train wake up and put its feet on the floor. I douse our little camp, door down, lock threaded, nothing left to suggest we were here longer than a breath. On the walk back to the car, Mia hooks her fingers into my sleeve, a tether we both agree to without negotiation. In the driver's seat, I look once at the gate and once in the rear view. The sedan is a shape where a sentence should be. I pull out as if errands have schedules and we're late. The burner buzzes in the bag, the same single-minded insistence as a smoke alarm with a dying battery. We leave the tire shop behind, and the misaligned line in the carpet comes with us anyway, a seam I can feel underfoot no matter how smooth the road tries to be. We hit the first light out of the industrial strip, and I make my voice into something that won't startle the horses. Ground rules, I say, and the words feel like loading a dishwasher, or where there wasn't any, breakage if you rush. No posts. No texts. Phones off, not just quiet. Eye contact short and friendly with anyone who looks too interested. If I say turn, you turn. If I say smile, you pretend you just remembered a good joke. Mia stares at her hands, then flips her phone over so the screen faces the floor mat, a little funeral for a thing that lives to talk. This is ridiculous, she says, a scale that can't find middle C. I'm not a toddler, and we don't do spy games. We don't. I agree, and mean it with all the conviction I can fake. But we can do quiet. For a few hours. Her thumb hovers over her phone like a hovercraft considering land. Mom says rules without reasons are just someone flexing. She's not wrong. The truth keeps knocking, but I haven't decided which door to open. I take a turn that makes no sense to anyone who doesn't know the city by its old names. Someone at work is crooked, I say finally, each word a plank on a bridge I hope will hold. Elena warned us. She looks up so fast I hear her ponytail brush the headrest. Elena from the audit? The one with the nice pens? Why would she text me to leave my noodles? She texted me, I correct, softer than I intended. And she didn't say noodles. I grip the wheel until the leather announces itself. That's all I can give you without making things worse. For who? She asks, and it's fair. Me or your job? For you, I say, and it's true enough to tint the air. We pass the park where swing sets look like empty parentheses. A dog strains against a leash, convinced this night has secrets just for him. I think of the voicemail, the scrape, the word that got stuck in Elena's mouth and never came out. Mia powers down her phone like she's putting a small animal to sleep. I hate this, she says without crying. I hate the not knowing more than I hate the scary part. I know. I do. The silence between us is not hostile. It's a tarp we're both holding down while the wind gets ideas. I point the car towards Sophie's place without calling, because the list in my head says home is a trap and school is a beacon and patterns are how you volunteer to be found. Sophie will be mad and then useful, which is the order she prefers. Traffic thins. Storefronts turn into the kind of apartment buildings that learn to stand up during smaller wars. I run a yellow light I would usually sermonize about. Mia notices and doesn't comment, which is its own sermon. We roll into Sophie's block, and I kill our lights half a second early. 5th floor, 3rd window from the right, the one with a plant Mia named after a cartoon detective. I park where the streetlight stutters and breathe like I'm not counting. We'll go up, I say. We'll explain what we can. And the rest? She asks. The rest waits until it won't hurt you to hear it. I take her hand. She lets me, and for now, that's the only rule that matters. Sophie opens the door with the chain still on, the way a person does when they're married to caution. Her eyes do a fast inventory, our faces, the duffel, the air behind us, and then the chain slides back like a judgment she's postponing. You don't call now? She says. You just appear? It's safer, I tell her, and hear how flimsy that sounds stripped of context. Safer is a coat you lend out when the weather changes. It never fits right on the next person. She stands aside, and we step into the apartment where everything smells like lemon cleaner and last week's coffee. Mia heads for the hall where she once built a fort out of trial binders, a reflex as old as these walls. Sophie locks the door and turns the dead bolt with a flourish that's almost theatrical. Then she looks at me like a cross-exam she hasn't prepared but refuses to lose. Explain, she says. Elena Park called me. I start. Voicemail. Cut off. She told us not to go home. Sophie's anger is a pilot light. It flares and holds. Elena the auditor? She pinches the bridge of her nose, and for a second I see the girl who studied through migraines and ate saltines like talismans. Of course. Of course it's that office. I give her the outline I've been carving out of air. The text, the burner, the unmarked SUVs, the photo from the server room that shouldn't exist. I don't say fear, but it must be in the room because she moves like she doesn't want to bump it. All right, she says finally. Phone's off. Shoes inside the door. You two take the bedroom. She's furious, but it's the kind that remembers to set a place at the table. And if someone knocks with a badge, I answer, and you go quiet. I nod, too relieved to add thank you on top of insult, and she decides when I can exhale by choosing not to punish me for needing her. She heads to the kitchen and pulls a file from the freezer where most people keep peas. I was going to tell you tomorrow, she says, voice low, a new current in the room. 3 of my clients' cases reassigned today. No reason. No courtesy. Just an email with a zip file of discovery and a goodbye. Reassigned to who? I ask, though I already hate the answer. Out of county council. Friendly to the DA. She taps the folder like a metronome. All 3 have a common thread, digital evidence chain from client's department. Body cams, traffic cams, the whole brittle cathedral. 2 are domestic cases. 1 is a juvenile. The word juvenile sits on the counter and refuses to move. I think of the phantom tickets, the midnight swipes, the looped footage Elena didn't get to finish describing. Sophie watches me connect dots and doesn't help, because if she names it out loud it becomes a thing we're obligated to bleed for tonight. In the hallway, carpet muffles a shift of weight. Mia is a shadow in the corner mirror, small and straight-backed, learning how to listen without announcing herself. This, too, is a skill I gave her by accident. You cannot keep her in the dark, Sophie says, quiet now. You can pace the truth, but you don't get to blindfold her and call it love. I know. I say, and mean it. We need an hour without her face telling the wrong story to the wrong camera. Sophie steps closer and softens around the eyes, the way she does with clients who have already punished themselves more thoroughly than a court ever could. Then we give you an hour. She takes my keys, moves the car in her building's app to a spot without a camera over it, sets the door alarm to a chime instead of a siren. I'll make tea, she says, which in this apartment is code for we aren't done, but we're stillless. From the hallway, Mia says, I can hear you. Not accusing, just aligning the map. I close my eyes for a count of 3 and open them to the life we're going to have to carry through this. We clear a square table between the bowl of lemons and the mail that pretends to be important. Sophie brings out the thin laptop she keeps for clients who don't need their search history subpoenaed. It boots like a confession, nothing loaded, nothing remembered. I set the burner beside it, a cheap black brick that looks innocent if you've never needed one. We don't turn the lights up. We let the room be a dim aquarium and keep our movements small. Elena's audit notes live in a folder I copied the week she asked me for the badge logs. She named her files like she named stray cats, dates first, then purpose, then a joke to make herself brave. We open the spreadsheets and the work orders, 2 streams that should run parallel. Sophie reads aloud and I type, our roles braided the way they used to be when Mia had fevers, and we took turns being the calm one. Phantom tickets step out of the columns like footprints appearing on wet concrete. Authorized by nobody, approved by everybody, time-stamped at hours that belong to rats and cleaning crews. The sealed racks, the archive nodes, the chain of custody machines that sign their names every time they inhale, Show visitors who never swipe out. Sophie marks the nights in one sheet. I pull the evidence tag logs in another. We align the dates by their ribs and listen to the click when they lock. There it is, the pattern that hates to be seen. Domestic cases with digital evidence go cloudy between 1 and 3 in the morning. Tags flagged, in transit, at 1:12, check some mismatch, at 2:04, retried, at 2:58, and then back to normal by dawn, like a guilt that showered before church. 2 nights later, a reassignment email. A week after that, a plea bargain that reads like surrender. Sophie opens the door with the chain still on, the way a person does when they're married to caution. Her eyes do a fast inventory, our faces, the duffel, the air behind us, and then the chain slides back like a judgment she's postponing. "You don't call now?" she says. "You just appear?" "It's safer," I tell her, and hear how flimsy that sounds stripped of context. Safer is a coat you lend out when the weather changes. It never fits right on the next person. She stands aside, and we step into the apartment where everything smells like lemon cleaner and last week's coffee. Mia heads for the hall where she once built a fort out of trial binders, a reflex as old as these walls. Sophie locks the door and turns the dead bolt with a flourish that's almost theatrical. Then she looks at me like a cross-exam she hasn't prepared but refuses to lose. "Explain," she says. "Elena Park called me." I start. "Voicemail. Cut off. She told us not to go home." Sophie's anger is a pilot light. It flares and holds. "Elena the auditor?" She pinches the bridge of her nose, and for a second I see the girl who studied through migraines and ate saltines like talismans. Of course it's that office." I give her the outline I've been carving out of air. The text, the burner, the unmarked SUVs, the photo from the server room that shouldn't exist. I don't say fear, but it must be in the room because she moves like she doesn't want to bump it. "All right," she says finally. "Phone's off. Shoes inside the door. You two take the bedroom." She's furious, but it's the kind that remembers to set a place at the table. "And if someone knocks with a badge, I answer, and you go quiet." I nod, too relieved to add thank you on top of insult, and she decides when I can exhale by choosing not to punish me for needing her. She heads to the kitchen and pulls a file from the freezer where most people keep peas. "I was going to tell you tomorrow," she says, voice low, a new current in the room. "3 of my clients' cases reassigned today. No reason. No courtesy. Just an email with a zip file of discovery and a goodbye." "Reassigned to who?" I ask, though I already hate the answer. "Out of county council. Friendly to the DA." She taps the folder like a metronome. All 3 have a common thread, digital evidence chain from client's department. Body cams, traffic cams, the whole brutal cathedral. 2 are domestic cases. 1 is a juvenile. The word juvenile sits on the counter and refuses to move. I think of the phantom tickets, the midnight swipes, the looped footage Elena didn't get to finish describing. Sophie watches me connect dots and doesn't help, because if she names it out loud it becomes a thing we're obligated to bleed for tonight. In the hallway, carpet muffles a shift of weight. Mia is a shadow in the corner mirror, small and straight-backed, learning how to listen without announcing herself. This, too, is a skill I gave her by accident. "You cannot keep her in the dark," Sophie says, quiet now. "You can pace the truth, but you don't get to blindfold her and call it love." "I know," I say, and mean it. We need an hour without her face telling the wrong story to the wrong camera." Sophie steps closer and softens around the eyes, the way she does with clients who have already punished themselves more thoroughly than a court ever could. "Then we give you an hour." She takes my keys, moves the car in her building's app to a spot without a camera over it, sets the door alarm to a chime instead of a siren. "I'll make tea," she says, which in this apartment is code for we aren't done, but we're stillless. From the hallway, Mia says, "I can hear you." Not accusing, just aligning the map. I close my eyes for a count of 3 and open them to the life we're going to have to carry through this. We clear a square table between the bowl of lemons and the mail that pretends to be important. Sophie brings out the thin laptop she keeps for clients who don't need their search history subpoenaed. It boots like a confession, nothing loaded, nothing remembered. I set the burner beside it, a cheap black brick that looks innocent if you've never needed one. We don't turn the lights up. We let the room be a dim aquarium and keep our movements small. Elena's audit notes live in a folder I copied the week she asked me for the badge logs. She named her files like she named stray cats, dates first, then purpose, then a joke to make herself brave. We open the spreadsheets and the work orders, two streams that should run parallel. Sophie reads aloud and I type, our roles braided the way they used to be when Mia had fevers, and we took turns being the calm one. Phantom tickets step out of the columns like footprints appearing on wet concrete. Authorized by nobody, approved by everybody, time-stamped at hours that belong to rats and cleaning crews. The sealed racks, the archive nodes, the chain of custody machines that sign their names every time they inhale, show visitors who never swipe out. Sophie marks the nights in one sheet, I pull the evidence tag logs in another. We align the dates by their ribs and listen to the click when they lock. There it is, the pattern that hates to be seen. Domestic cases with digital evidence go cloudy between 1 and 3 in the morning. Tags flagged, in transit, at 1:12, check some mismatch, at 2:04, retried, at 2:58, and then back to normal by dawn, like a guilt that showered before church. 2 nights later, a reassignment email. A week after that, a plea bargain that reads like surrender. Sophie leans in, elbow on wood, face lit by the soft witchcraft of cells agreeing with each other. If you wanted to erase outrage, she murmurs, you'd start by making it look messy instead of malicious. The burner buzzes with a notification that shouldn't exist because we didn't give it permission to behave like a pet. An app one didn't install spits out a push from a feed Mia follows for robotics builds and city hacks. The handle is a bird with a limp, gray finch. A post no one else seems to see yet, timestamp 5 minutes ago, big leak. City server singing. Watch the river at midnight. Who is that? Sophie asks, as if a name could make it bite less. Whistleblower, I say. Or a kid who wants to be one. Gray Finch has been stitching hints for months, thread pulled from meeting minutes and procurement PDFs. Elena called them a chorus of receipts. We thought it was hobby. Now it sounds like a fire alarm someone set to harp. Mia stands in the doorway, the tea towel a flag without country. She doesn't step closer. She just listens with her whole face. I want to tell her to go lie down, to make a fort of blankets and pretend we live in a house where the worst thing is forgetting laundry in the wash. Instead, I nod at the chair. She sits. We let her. Sophie marks another night. I pull another log. The map gets darker where the lines repeat. Out the window, the city hums like a machine left on, steady, patient, certain of its purpose. Midnight is closer than I thought. The river will keep its appointment whether we show up or not. It's the smallest sound, a tick inside a tick, like a beetle caught in a watch. We're gathering keys and bags and the laptop that pretends it's clean when Mia pauses at the door and shakes my car fob near her ear. It didn't used to do that, she says, the way a violinist notices a string gone sour. Battery, I say, because lies love the shortest route. She hands it back, then takes it again, palm up like a surgeon asking for the next instrument. On the entry table, under the bowl where Sophie keeps quarters and case notes, she pries the plastic seam with a butter knife until the shell size open. The button pad peels away like a bandage. Beneath the coincidental foam. Beneath the foam, a chip with a copper throat, no brand, no theatrics. A micro tracker small enough to forget itself. Sophie swears softly, the word not meant for Mia but refusing to miss. I taste metal. The room contracts around the little device the way a throat does when you almost choke. I picture the sedan, the storage unit's misaligned carpet, the photo from the server room. It's all one story told in different fonts. We switch cars, Sophie says, already moving. She finds the spare fob in a mug and tosses it to me, arc clean as a ruling. You take mine. I'll put a blanket over your back seat like a grandmother. Mia holds the chip up between finger and thumb, studying it as if it might confess. Can it hear? She asks. Probably not, I say. Just tell someone where we are. Where we were, she corrects, and I try to find room to be proud. We go downstairs like people who forgot the grocery list and remember their manners. The night smells wet without being anything as decisive as rain. Sophie's car waits in the shadows, like an accomplice. I open our trunk and make a show of rearranging, while Mia slides the chip into a sandwich bag and tucks it under the spare tire, a kindness to whoever's screen is watching. We drive a block and stop beside a delivery truck idling with its hazards on, driver hunched over a clipboard under the dome light's cheap halo. Mia hops out with the baggie in her sleeve, bends to tie her shoe by the rear axle, and lets the bug go like she's returning a fish to water. The truck coughs, signals, becomes a decoy with better hours than we have. Back behind the wheel, breath comes back in thin slices. The burner warms my pocket as if to say I told you so. I look at Mia's profile, concentration smoothed into relief, and a thought lands that I wish belonged to someone else. Don't tell your daughter, the text said. Not because secrets keep her safe, but because her face does not. Cameras read more than plates. Algorithms have learned to love a flinch. I had pictured men at bars and black SUVs, the old vocabulary of danger. But the warning wasn't about brawn, it was about capture. Not her body, her expression. The way truth migrates to a child's eyes before a mouth has a chance to measure it. I grip the wheel and promise myself the version of honesty that doesn't turn her into evidence. We turn the corner. The truck turns the other way and takes our trace with it. Sophie's car rides lower than mine, a soft boat in city chop. The dash smells like peppermint gum and courthouse dust. Mia dozes with that deliberate teenager stillness that means she's awake enough to correct my math if it matters. I run through the list of people who might help and stop, as always, at the name that tastes like old arguments, Nate. He answers on the third ring with a voice he uses when he's half a beer in and wants you to know he's fine. Hail. You fall off the earth? I need a favor, I say, and I hear him sit up. Favors are currency. We've exchanged enough to have a rate. Does Sophie know you're calling me? She will. I keep my tone level. Ramen place on Oak. Something went down. Can you check for an incident report? Quietly. He blows out air. In the background, a TV murmurs the day's highlights like a disappointed uncle. I'm off shift. I know. And I'm not your guy for internal. He lets that hang, then adds. Mostly. Please, I say, and the word is softer than I meant it to be. Just a line item. I'll owe you. You already do. He's not wrong. Thanksgiving after the divorce, he put fresh brake pads on my car without asking because brakes are one of the few gifts that can pass for love between men. Send me the time. I give it to him down to the minute, because minutes matter in rooms with cameras. He hedges again, noise about supervisors who hover in databases that remember too much. But finally, he grunts the syllable that means yes without the liability of the word. We hang up like we used to leave family parties, with a shrug and a promise to text later about something we won't. We find a side street where parking is legal if you're brave and sleep adjacent if you're not. Sophie goes inside to brew tea like a court order. I sit by the window with the burner face down and my regular phone face down beside it. 2 coins I can't spend. Mia pretends not to watch me. The hours lengthen the way rubber bands do before they snap. Sometime after midnight, the screen lights up Nate's name without a preamble ringtone. Not a call, just a text. 2 words, no report. I stare until the letters stop meaning what they say and start meaning what they are. No report is not the same as nothing happened. No report is a locked drawer. No report is a night with sirens and SUVs and a manager telling a hostess to smile while he makes a phone call. No report is hands wiping a whiteboard and then washing twice. I type back, what about calls? EMS? Noise complaints? 3 dots. Then, tried 3 systems. Either it never existed or someone scrubbed it. Be careful. Be careful is the last day of school advice from a cop who knows how stories get shorter when they're inconvenient. I thank him in a language we inherited, thumbs up, a promise for a beer I won't buy soon. He doesn't ask why I needed to know, and I don't tell him who is sleeping down the hall. I lock the phone and look at Mia, whose breathing has evened out to the slow rhythm of trust on layaway. Someone is papering over the evening, layer by layer, until all that's left is a room with good noodles, and nothing to explain. I feel the edge under the wallpaper with my fingertips, the seam you only see when the light hits wrong. It's there. It always is. The city after midnight is a museum of bad decisions and excellent lighting. I park 2 blocks from the data center and let the building come into focus the way a face does when you remember you loved it once. The glass atrium holds its breath. The badge readers blink their little green eyelids, waiting for names to say out loud. I'm coming, Mia says, already zipping her hoodie. It isn't a request, it's physics. She's the only one who can thread the needle I helped stitch.